All right, so we'll call to order our annual meeting at 10:42. Our Secretary Ho Brown, do we have a quorum today?
Yes, we do. We have 75 members.
Great, 75 members. Thank you. All right, we're going to start with Pastor Burr with our devotions.
So if you turn to one of the last pages of your annual meeting, there's a liturgy for opening the meeting. Should be on the second to last page, or thereabouts. You find it? Just inside the back cover. And if you're on your phone, just swipe as fast as you can to the back and enlarge it so you can read it. Recognizing that our faith is a living, busy, active, and mighty thing, may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with each of you. Teach us to love you with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Descend on our hearts that we may love others in the ways Jesus loves us. Empower us to be enthusiastic in pursuing your vision for our congregation. Move us to engage issues in our community in Christ-like ways, and to pursue deep and authentic relationships with those with whom we serve and partner. Strengthen us to face the barriers we encounter in doing your work, learning to work with others amid disagreement. Give us the ability to adapt to the cultural, economic, and social changes that occur in the neighborhoods we serve. Guide us to be a healthy congregation that learns from its failures as well as its successes and offers wisdom to others. As we strive to become the church that we proclaim to be, raise up leaders who focus on the gospel of freedom, forgiveness, and reconciliation as given to us through God's indescribable act of love in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Renew us daily in our baptism that we may discover vitality in our relationships with you, each other, and those we serve in the world. We'll join now in the hymn, Spirit of God, Descend Upon My Heart. It's hymn number 800, if you want to sing it from the book. Just a point that we'll probably sing a verse of this song every time we vote, just so we have time to do that. So that's more of a warning for Lucy Kay. But it's just a couple votes, so.
First, I'd like to start with the current council members, just to make sure you guys see them and thank them for their year of service this past year in 2022. So if you are a current council member, if you would please stand. So we have Randall, Ho, Stephanie, Gary, Jess, Christy, Karen, Craig, Jean, Christy, and Johannes. So thank you for your service this last year. See if I can do this here. Cool. So voting is different this year. If you have a device, there will be a QR code up on the screen. You will click the link to the that the QR code brings up, and it takes you straight to a Google form, and you'll vote right there. If you do not have a device, or that is too scary with technology, we have some paper ballots as well. So one of the things that council has talked a lot about is through our Creation Care committee, and how can we reduce the use of paper around the church? So this is one of those efforts, and I know that it's a learning curve, but we are going to try it because we don't know how it's going to work until we try something, right? So, and then the ballots will get collected from council members. So at the time, if you do have a paper ballot and you're done, you'll just raise it up, and council members will come around and collect those. If you guys have looked over our standing rules of order, there are 3 main standing rules of order. They are in the annual report. Just a point of clarification, we are not on Zoom, so this is an in-person only. It is on YouTube, but on YouTube it's just informational only, so no voting or interaction. If you do have a question or would like to talk, we're gonna, during comments, you can line up here and use the microphone over here. So the 3 standing rules are in your thing. And then you guys should see in the annual report the agenda for today. Yes, so we're gonna vote for all 3 at the same time. So we're gonna look at the agenda, standing rules, as well as the meeting minutes. So we're gonna look at all of those, and then we're gonna vote for all 3 things at the same time in one vote. All right, so the agenda is in your annual report, and that is on page 6. Standing rules is on page 7. And then the annual meeting minutes from our last meeting on 1/30/22, we will also be voting on as well. So those 3 items. Hopefully you have taken some time to review those prior to today. Are there any changes, corrections to standing rules of order, meeting agenda, or annual meeting minutes from 1/30/22, or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll go to vote. Okay, so here's the time. You're gonna pull out your device, scan the QR code. It should take you to a Google form where you can vote for all 3 of these things. You can put just your first name and last initial in the name field. No. We know how many ballots there are. We're just going to confirm that paper ballots plus online voting equals how many people are here. Okay? All right, online we have 51 votes that are approving the standing rules, 51 of votes that are approving the meeting agenda, and 51 votes that are approving the annual meeting minutes. There are no not approving votes. All right, and then we have 25 paper ballot voting yes for standing rules, 26 paper ballots voting yes for meeting agenda, and 25 voting paper ballot for annual meeting minutes, and there are 0 noes on all of them, so I think that motion carries. All right. Next is the annual report. You guys should see that on your email. It came to you, I'm understanding, twice. The second one is the correct one. And then we also have paper copies in the back, so looking like this. Are there any changes, corrections, clarifications to the annual report of 2022? All right. This year, I just want to thank one more time the, yes. So she said that her daughter's name was put where? As a council member. So the first name needs to be changed to Christy from Kate. Thank you for that clarification. That's an important change. Not sure your daughter was ready to sign up for that. No. We don't have to vote on that. All right. So just want to thank the council one more time for their service this year. We have had extra meetings and longer meetings, and so I want to thank them for their time. They really care and love for this church, and it shows in their leadership. And so just a big thank you to them. One thing that we've been talking about is the audit committee. You'll see up there the 3 people who are serving on our audit committee for 2023. The council has asked that they perform the audit for 2022 in the year of 2023. We've also staggered their terms as 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years, so that there's hopefully a constant rotation of people on the audit committee. The audit committee is a 3-year term, renewable twice, I believe. And so they would all be eligible to re-up for another 3 years at the end of their 1, 2, or 3-year term. We're asking that whoever the vice president is would be their point person for audits and going to for questions, clarifications, things being like their liaison type of role to the council. And the audit committee will be giving their procedures and their audits to the council to review, and then having meetings with the financial committee to go over the audit. Personnel committee was expanded this year. Something that we did on council this year was try to line things up before today, so that going into 2023 we already have committee liaisons and audit committee ready and the personnel committee ready. So that's one of the things that we are hoping to do at the end of each year for the next year, so that we can get off to a good start. When you're coming onto council, there's a lot going on, especially when you're new. So hopefully this will give the new council each year something to move forward with. We also expanded the personnel committee for various reasons, but that'll help us. Job descriptions need to be rewritten. It's been a while since we've touched some of those things, so it's just going to be a lot of work for those people. So thank you to the people on the screen there for helping with personnel committee. And then council's been talking a lot about the health of the church and moving forward, looking to the future, coming out of COVID. And so we're trying to look at starting up 2 new committees, one specifically around membership and the second one specifically around stewardship. So really focusing on bringing new members in, welcoming them, making sure that we have information for them to get, and then the stewardship really, with the members we have, talking about maybe sharing some stewardship stories, talking about different ways of stewardship, talking about your time, your talents, not just your money as well. So those committees were excited about getting off the ground at the beginning of 2023. So.
Show our appreciation for Holly, huh? Holly's been an incredible leader for us, as you can tell. She has a vision, but that vision is tied closely into the Vision 2025 that we set forth a few years back. And so I want to thank her for being a good partner in that, as well as the council. I will note that I did write a report that's in your annual report there, and so I'm not going to repeat, or I hope I don't repeat what's in there, but I wanted to talk about a few other things. First is to say that that in this day of change, I just came back from Byberg, a preaching workshop, and so I was with a lot of leaders of the church, and we're all tired. It's just a stunning thing to kind of admit that everyone, there's 84 of us, and we all admitted that we're just tired. What we were trained for back in the 90s and early 2000s isn't where we're at. And so we're all trying to rediscover or discover ways of being the church in this new era. And what that means is that the church that we love is going away. There's no way to state it differently. The church that we love is going away. But the church that God loves will remain. And that's the hope that we have to hang on to. That this church has gone through ups and downs and persecutions and joys over these 2,000 or so years. But it's God's church. It's Christ's church. The church that we love, the things that we love, may not be the future of the church. And that makes us tired. Because how do we re-find ourselves? How do we find our joy again? How do we find this preferred future that God has for us? And for all of you sitting here, I know you know this, but it's sometimes hard to accept. And so as we journey forward, especially out of COVID, that accelerated a lot of the change that's in the church. We're going to try to catch up. That's why we want to try to reform this worship and music committee, and we're trying to rethink what that means. It can't be what it used to be. It can't be, just trying to drum up old ways of being. It has to be about how do we engage and change and be the church in this day and age. The same with stewardship and membership. It's not just going back to the old ways of, the things we did, but how do we engage this current generation? What are the new ways that we have to learn to engage this new generation? What are the things that we have to accept that has changed. I think for myself, that's really hard to accept the change that's already happened. Sometimes I just want to put my head in the sand and pretend that we haven't changed, but we have. And so this 2023 is going to be a year where we explore and try different things, as Holly said, to see how we can move into this preferred future that God has given us. But having said that, some things haven't changed other than the difficulty in doing them. And this is just on the heels of the night I just had, that we still are having babies. We're still getting married. We still have trials and tribulations in our lives, and we still die. And the church needs to be there for all of those things, to offer the blessing of God, to be present, to have those prayers that mark and ritualize these times in our lives. But what has changed is the knowledge that I receive. This last year, Kristen and I can't tell you how many times we were shocked to learn that some of you were in the hospital and we did not know. It's hard to be the church if we can't be present for each other. So my encouragement for all of you is to train your family members, make sure they hear clearly, I want the pastor to come visit. What I can't do is respond to gossip. I've been burned way too many times when that gossip has been wrong. And no matter how you think you got the right knowledge, if you're the third or fourth person to hear it, I'm not going to respond to it because it has caused hurt and pain. It has to come from family members or a direct friend who we know is involved. Does that make sense? Gone are the days that I can go to the hospital and ask for the Lutheran census and find out who's in the hospital. That doesn't work anymore. And as hard as I've tried, I don't have ESP. So I want to be there for you as your pastor. But I can't respond to things that I don't know. So please make sure your family members know or your best friend know that you wish to have me there. Now, if you don't wish to have me there, that's okay too. That's just fine. Erica Beers, bless her heart, I'm fine. And that's okay. But I know some of you would like to have the pastor there, so we can do that. And if I can't be there, we do have a few folks that can come and be with you as well. So I'm offering a plea to make sure that you know the church is here for you. As we move forward, we're also living into our Vision 2025. As you know, this is really, last year we set the challenge to reinvigorate Vision 2025, and Council has really taken that on seriously, and it has been so helpful to refocus us and remind us of what's important and where we want to head in the future. So even though the future is a little bit unknown, but we do know what our core values are, and we want to pursue those. So that is, I give thanks for having that work done and set before us. We've also done some other hard decisions. We sat down and went through our roles, and you can see the numbers there in your report that we removed quite a few folks from the roles of the church. A lot of those folks were like my son, who's 28 and hasn't been to church in 5 years, right? So it's hard to make those decisions, but remember, membership is about people who participate in the life of the church. Doesn't mean we don't love them. Doesn't mean that if they come to us and desire pastoral care, we're there for them. If they want to participate in other things, we're there for them. But for the sake of the body, we need to be clear about who's members and who is not. And that's always hard to do. Also this past year, we've been exploring what does it mean to be the staff and who we are among you, and are we doing what we need to do for that. So the expanding of the Personnel Committee is important as we work into the future needs of this congregation. What is it that we need to move into the future? So all those things are really important. It's been a joy. This June, it'll be 13 years to be your pastor here. We're a very different church than we were then. We're a healthy church. We're a church that knows that God is with us, and there's a high level of trust, and we want to continue with that. We want to continue being transparent, continue to offer to you the work that's set before us in an honest way. But I do want to announce that I will be taking my sabbatical in 2024. So at this time, this year, we will put together a sabbatical committee at some point to be able to frame that sabbatical and put that before you for a vote next January. So just want to make that announcement and go forth in that. So with that, I still want to say thanks to all of you. This is a lovely church. Every time we have visitors, they say as much. We may not be their cup of tea, so to speak, but they do feel welcome, and they do feel like we are a place of honest reflection. I finally got the new flag up outside, the pride flag, and again, I have to tell you, we have strangers who stop us outside and give thanks for that flag. I know it's kind of innocuous, it's just a flag, right? But for so many people in our community to know that we are a safe place is quite an honor to be that for the community. So thank you.
All right, I'd like to invite up Dan and Ann Borman, or maybe just Dan, to review the 2023 budget.
Good morning. I'm Dan Borman. Is that really loud? Okay, fair enough. Okay, being helped today by Ann, who's in the white sweater passing out things there. The Finance Committee report is on page 23 of the annual report. It's on the left column, about 2 or 3 inches down. If you want to refer to that. First, we would like to thank you for all the generous support of First Lutheran during the challenging pandemic times. Our committee members are Bob Berg, serving as the committee chair and church treasurer. Ho Brown is our council representative. Melanie Vesey is our financial secretary. Kristen Smith, our bookkeeper. Pastor Berg, and Ann and myself. We also want to thank our counters during the pandemic, and they have been Gordy Phelps and Melanie Vesey. During the 2023 pledge campaign, we received 78 pledges for the general fund for $379,810, which is 6 fewer than in 2022. Last year, we received 84 pledges for the general fund in the total of $405,023. So that's a decrease of $25,000. We also continue to receive fund pledges for the Capital Improvement Fund to save for roof replacement and other necessary building repairs. The 2023 Capital Improvement Fund pledges were 38 for $50,107. Last year, we received 37 pledges for $53,220. So that's a decrease of about $3,000 for that fund. Many of you continue giving through your IRA required minimum distributions, and that's a very tax-efficient way to give contributions to the church, especially now that the standard deduction is as high, that changed a few years back. So we really thank you for sharing your retirement funds in this way. And before we get into the line details, I want to give an overall summary. 2022 ended with expenses exceeding income by $10,089. This is the second time in 10 years that we have finished the year with a deficit. The $10,089 deficit will be transferred to the reserve fund, lowering that reserve fund by that amount. In creating the Pledges and Loose Fund offering estimate for 2023, I used pledges received and continuing giving for the non-pledging units. There is a $25,000 lower pledge amount for 2023, which will make 2023 a very challenging budget year. Based on the statistical report on page 18, it shows we are a smaller congregation. The 2023 proposed budget shows a deficit of $26,659, and we're allowed to approve a deficit budget as long as we have reserves to cover the deficit. So starting in 2023, the reserve fund balance will have a remaining balance of $109,665, and you can see that on the bottom of page 15 of the annual report. This is not a sustainable budget. If significant increases in income do not happen, we will need to make changes before our 2024 budget. Again, the statistical report shows we are a smaller congregation. And I ask you to hold your questions until the end of the questions and comments until the end of the discussion. The proposed budget for the general fund for 2023 starts on page 12 of the annual report. Now, if you picked up a paper copy, that is the correct budget. If you downloaded and printed or have in your phone or device the original one that came out, that was incorrect. And then it was issued again. So if you look at the 2023 budget, the Pledges and Loose Offering number on the right-hand column should be 511,000. If it is not that number, Ann has paper copies she can hand out to you. So if you want to double check that and make sure that you have that. If you need a different copy, just raise your hand. Randall and Ann are standing by. Oops, Joe needs one. Okay. The 2023 budget has three columns: 2022 approved budget, actual 2022, and the 2023 proposed budget. As I mentioned, pledges and loose offerings, it's 4.1100 if you are a numbers person instead of looking for the letter. It should be 511,000 for the 2023 budget. The total income budget is about 13,000 less than last year's actual. Because of the reduced income projections, we needed to make significant changes to the requested budgets from the committees. Since so many areas in the budget are really not negotiable or flexible, we needed to make changes in those items that we could change. So under the heading of 5.1000, mission support, in recent years, we've shared 7.3% of our pledges and loose offering with the Synod and churchwide. This year, we had to reduce that percentage to 4.5%. Under the heading of 5.1500, social ministries, we reduced last year's budget of $13,700 to $6,950. There is also a social ministries fund account with a balance of $2,400 with an approximately $5,000 that can be transferred from another script profit account that could fund some social ministries. Please continue to support SCRIP because those funds all go to social ministries. 5.400, worship and music. We reduced worship and music from a budget of $9,640 to $5,640. But that's still $1,200 more than was spent in 2022. 5.1000, youth, remained very close to last year's budget. 5.5500, Christian education. This area was reduced $1,300 from last year's budget, which is about $700 less than what was actually spent last year. 5.7000, building and property. Most expenses in building and property are not negotiable and include utilities, building maintenance, building and janitorial supplies, insurance, and van repairs, gas, and licensing. Our main insurance policy in itself increased $1,700 this year. The total for this category remains about the same as last year's budget, but it's about $4,000 higher than last year. We know that utilities will not be going down. 5.800, administration. This category increased by $20,000, but that was mainly due to moving from an on-staff janitor to a janitorial service, which transferred this expense to administration, where the janitor position was under personnel. 5.9000, personnel. This year we were unable to give increases in salaries due to the reduced income projections. Pension and medical for our 3 full-time employees did increase. On the bottom of page 15, the reserve fund balance for January 1st, 2023 shows $109,665. In the report on page 27 and 28 show the consolidated fund reports as of December 31, 2022. That's page 27 and 28. And we'll review some of those funds. The funds are restricted with specific uses, but add to the overall financial stability of the church. The bottom line of these funds is about $275,000. The top one, 3.1000, the general fund. This is a budget for the general fund only, and the current balance of minus $10,088.36 will be transferred to the reserve fund. 3.1010, Quilter's fund balance, $3,587. That was the funds from the women's group that was left for the quilters to use for things like batting, which is the padding in the middle of quilts. 3.1210, script, social ministries script proceeds. That's the fund I was talking about earlier. This fund paid for shipping of the Lutheran World Relief quilts, the school kits, health kits. Again, just reminding you to support the SCRIP program. And it also can be used for any social ministries funds or expenses. 3.1420, Youth Fund, $15,298. This is the account for the youth auction funds. 3.1500, Reserve Fund balance. We've been talking about that some. After the deficit is reduced from 2022, we'll have $109,665. Capital Improvement Fund, 3.1510, $77,562. Much of this balance will be used to pay the last bill for the entryway repair that I think just finished. I don't know that we have the last bill yet, but it will take up a good share of those funds. 3.1600, Musical Instrument Repair Fund of $10,738. It takes about $2,500 a year to maintain the pianos and organs. It will take another $75,000 of income to make this budget sustainable if all the requested amounts had been included. What can you do to help with this dilemma? If you're able, increase your pledge or give more generously. The Finance Committee will be monitoring income and expenses and working with the Personnel Committee and the Church Council during this year. We meet monthly and we take a very close look at how things are running. So, questions or comments?
If you have any questions, please come forward to the mic. If you are not able to get to the mic, we have a roving mic that we can bring back to you.
Mark Havlin, just want to commend Dan and Ann and the rest of the team for a great job. Would be useful to have perspective on, if you look at 28, second column of numbers, it says 789,553 as total gross receipts for the entire entity and all its funds. Just perspective on past years, what is that number? Do you have that handy, or is that something? If you don't, that's
I don't actually have it.
Okay.
We did get, 2021 went up quite a bit from the year before, and this year I think is higher than last year, but I don't have the numbers with me. I should have brought it.
And the like. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sorry.
In looking over the budget on page 15, there's a security salary. What is that?
We have an individual who on most nights comes and makes sure all the doors are locked and that the building is secure. And if you happen to come into the building late some night and all of a sudden this great big pickup comes running and a guy with a huge flashlight, that's what that is that individual. Keith Hood is who it is, who does the work.
Dan, I just have a question about the 3.1800 on the consolidated fund activity for the UW Bothell Campus Ministry Fund. What, looks like we have money in there, but I don't know that we have spent any of it. I wasn't sure what our program is for that.
I think Pastor will answer that one.
Thank you.
So we wrote a grant with UW Seattle, and so the campus minister there and a few other folks will be putting together, some kind of insight into how to get onto Bothell campus. So this last fall, they met with the Dean of Students and has done other work, and so they'll be starting to think about how to do some programming and get us onto UW Bothell. So it's a grant that we received.
So thinking about new committees and membership, we don't have anything in the budget to support that membership committee?
So those committees are just forming. We're not anticipating any funds that those committees will need at the beginning at least. And so that is not in the budget. They're just getting formed, but we're not anticipating them to be using any of the budget, at least at the beginning.
Dan, you said that the budget as presented is not sustainable.
Correct.
So I'm not a bookkeeper or an accountant. I don't know anything about this stuff. But why don't we just lower the projected amount instead of saying it's not sustainable? And if it's not sustainable, what happens?
Well, we can't lower salaries. And how long will you keep the staff if you can't increase salaries? And we don't feel good about lowering the amount we're sending to churchwide and for the synod. So we need to do something, something has to change before 2024. So there's a lot of moving parts. They're trying to increase stewardship, they're trying to increase membership, but we have to take a hard look at where we're spending the money. And we can make it through just fine this year because we have, as long as the projected money comes in, we have the reserves to cover it. But reserves can only be spent once. And it's our policy to try to keep 1 month's reserves in the reserve fund. So you're looking at, $45,000, $48,000 there. So if we lost $30,000 next year, that takes it down to $80,000. Plus, it's also money used if we don't have money in the capital improvement fund and we have to make a major repair. It comes out of the reserve fund. So that's why we're saying it's not sustainable, and we have to take a long, hard look at everything. I don't know if that answered your question or not. Actually, Ann and I were thinking when it was 1 point something billion, if we hit it, Lord, budget's not a problem, but we didn't hit it. I did win $2 though, so I did put that on the collection plate.
Just as a reminder too, that when the council reviewed the budget with Dan and Ann's direction and help, last year too, we had a budget deficit. What was it, about 25,000 last year, if I remember correctly? And through everybody's generosity, we did end up with a deficit, but it was less than budgeted. So this isn't the first year that we've gone into an annual proposed budget with an intended deficit, but it does rely on people's generosity in order to kind of meet somewhere in the middle or ideally cover the whole thing, which we've been able to do in years past, which is why we haven't had a deficit since 2014 until this past year.
All right, thank you so much, Dan and Ann, for all your help in creating that budget and answering those questions. All right, so we're going to see no more comments or questions. We're going to go to a congregational vote on the 2023 budget as presented. So get those phones ready. And once your paper ballot is done, if you can just kind of raise it up so council members can please help collect those. And the next few agenda items are going to be super quick, so we'll get out of here soon. And can I have someone from the nominating committee come up to give their, yeah. Online, I see 53 respondents, and they're counting paper. So there's 53 respondents online, there's 51 yes, 2 no. And then you can add paper ballots, 25 yes, 0 no. All right, so motion passes for the 2023 approval of our budget. Thank you so much. All right, nominating committee for council.
So on behalf of the nominating committee, we would like to nominate David Berg, Emily Curcio for a one-year term, Christy Frericks, Kathy Kineska, and Jackie Schnara. Sorry, I was looking away. Did you all hear that? It's up on the screen.
And just a point of clarification, Craig, we just got notified this last week that Craig has stepped off of council. So Emily is filling his term, and he had 1 year left, so, which is why that's just a 1 year term. She would be eligible to have a second 3-year term after finishing Craig's last year. Are you ready to vote? You got it down now. Yes.
I just wanted to mention that Kathy's last name is spelled with a K. Just point of clarification.
Thank you. That was just a typo. Sorry.
And I second the motion.
Thanks. All right. I still see like a couple votes coming in, so. Chatting though, so. Thank you, Lucy Kay. We're going to go forward to new business, letter D, Synod Gathering. Pastor Berg's just going to give, this is just an information sharing.
Thanks, Holly. So our synod usually meets in assembly every year, but we changed that a while back, and every other year we meet in assembly. On the other years, we are having what we're called gatherings. And these gatherings are opportunity for congregation members to hang out with other congregation members, but more importantly, we'll be having many offerings of classes and learnings. And so some of those things are like my favorite, which is what's a constitution and why you should update them. I'll be offering that class during these gatherings, but there'll be other opportunities as well. Susan, do you want to give this? Yes, please, because she knows everything about them. But one will be held up in Mount Vernon at, I believe, Salem Lutheran Church, and the other in Bellevue at St. Andrews. And since Susan's been working very hard on this.
My other favorite congregation. St. Andrews is where I grew up. So with an assembly, you know, we elect people to represent each congregation. And with the gatherings, as many of y'all that want to come get to come. And of course, there are some nuts and bolts forums, like what's a constitution? But there are also some really, a wide range of topics that engage not just like here are some information things for you to consider, but also some time to have conversation about what does this mean for the future of the synod, for the future of our various ministries, how might we collaborate. So we have topics ranging from advocacy to how do you build relationships with our indigenous neighbors on whose land we are present, to how do we support our LGBTQIA plus neighbors, to, what's that? Oh, there's a whole cool series. So there's 3 forums each day, and there's a really cool series called Sacred Spaces. And there have been these really lovely experiments throughout our synod about different ways of worshiping. Because for some folks, it's really hard to come through those doors if you're new, or if you're old and you just don't want to go to church anymore, or you've been wounded by the church, or it just doesn't speak to you in the same way. So we're experimenting with some different ways for folks to participate in a sacred space. And so there's a creative church session that you can go to. There is a wild church session that you can go to. And then the last session of the day will talk about some of the other kinds of things that have been really lovely experiments in the Synod Dinner Church and some other things like that. So there's a whole host of things. And Chris will soon start advertising all about it because she's awesome like that. And it's true when you get the information. And so please come. You'll probably select one of the Saturdays as a congregation to attend together. And that way, the more people that come, you can check out all of the like 18 or 19 different forums that there are, and then you can like, what did you hear? What did you learn? And we can have more conversations as a congregation then. Was that rambly enough for you?
So if you want to put those on your calendar, Mount Vernon, Salem will be on May 13th. And St. Andrews, Bellevue will be on May 20th. So those are those dates.
All right, thanks. Back to council nominees. David, 23 yes, 0 no. Paper ballots. Online, 54 yes, 0 no. Emily, 23 yes, 0 no on paper. Online, 54 yes, 0 no. Christy, 20 yes on paper, 0 no. 53 yes online, 1 no. Kathy, 20 yes on paper, no 2. Votes online, 51 yes, 2 no. Jackie, 20 on paper, yes, 0 no on paper. Online, 54 yes, 0 no. So, David, Emily, Christy, Kathy, and Jackie, thank you for saying yes to being on our council, and you are now officially voted in. If you are here, could you please stand so we can recognize you and thank you one more time? David's in the back, Kathy, Christy's over there, and Emily. Oh, and Jackie, there you go. Thank you. All right, last vote of the day. Nominating committee for 2023. So these people at the end of 2023 will do their job of nominating a slate of candidates for 2024 council. And so usually we ask that outgoing council members serve on this committee. So the outgoing council members from this year would be myself, Holly Batstone, as well as Randall and Karen. And then we also have Lloyd, Tom, and Karsten, who it would be their second year on this nominating committee. So we're going to vote now? No. Okay. Okay. So move to... Accept the nominations. But we need a second? Okay. Who was that? Sorry. All right. All those in favor of this nominating slate? Any nays? All right. Thank you for these people for serving in this way.
So just to clarify, we foregoed paper and online voting and went straight to hand vote. So you get to take those papers home with you. So once again, I want to thank Holly for leading us these last 2 years as our president. It's been a joy. Sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's not so much fun, but thank you for being that leader and a partner in this ministry. For those of you who don't know, the way our polity works is the president is equal to the clergy in our structure. So that goes all the way up to the national church as well. That's how our polity works. The idea is that we are in this together, and so that's why it's so important to have great leaders like Holly lead us. Also, what I want to close with, so those of you who are just elected and the old council members, please meet in the landing. We'll have a quick meeting to elect our executive committee. So right after this meeting, we'll meet in the landing to have that meeting. All right. With that, let's stand and hear this closing of a meeting. Gracious God, as we close this meeting, we want to lay all of this work at your feet, for we know you are with us. Thank you for the time that we had today to discuss issues and make decisions. May you bless each person who took the time to gather here, and let your hand of protection be on them. Let the work done here tonight come to fruition tonight, this afternoon, and let it all be for you and your mission that you set before us. Help us each do our part. In all of this, we trust in you, and we all say, amen. Go in peace.
We'll adjourn right at 12 o'clock. Thank you so much.